Whether you hug the infield tires or rip the cushion, you found the fastest dirt track podcast in motorsports. Welcome to Where Legends Are Made, the official podcast of Land of Legends Raceway. Here's Stephen and Brad Ovens.
Hello, Land of Legends Raceway fans. This is episode number 3 of the Where Legends Are Made podcast. Back with you here this week as we get ready maybe to go racing here on this Saturday. You guys are going to get this on Saturday morning, and we'll see what the weather gives us today. It's one of those days where it doesn't necessarily look that great, but we'll see what happens. And if you're catching us after Saturday, well, we'll get ready to go racing on July 18th nonetheless. Stephen and Brad Ovens here with you, and Brad, finally for the first time in 2020 we had fans in the grandstands, and what a night that was to finally have butts in the seats, people cheering, people fist pumping. I mean, it was just an awesome night of racing.
I can't really tell you or explain to you how I feel kind of bad for saying this, but how for granted I took having the fans in the stands, because opening up and racing without fans from the start this year, it was different, but it wasn't really different from us because our jobs are all the same. We're still giving 110% no matter what we're doing. Let me tell you what, when you opened that window on Saturday and you were yelling at the fans and they were yelling back at you, I know you've got all that hockey energy you didn't get to get out this year, so maybe we can use some of that this year in the racing. But it was so cool hearing all the fans, and then the fact that the way that we started the cars and getting the fan participation into it, it was just, it literally, there's not a lot of things in racing these days that really send the goosebumps up and down my arms like it did Saturday, but that was one of them.
I hadn't even give that a thought, and I think you're absolutely right. When you've been down here to Elmira to some hockey games, the hockey games and the role that I fill there for the hockey team is much where you're trying to get the crowd kind of pumped up, and there's a lot of times where you do something as the public address announcer that you kind of are looking for a reaction and a return from the fans. And maybe we don't do that as much on the racing side, but man, it felt good. And I hadn't even give that a thought. That's a great point. Now, another great point is going to be made later on in the podcast. We've got the Rooster, Scott Hixson, for our A-Main interview of the week. And we've got a bonus A-Main for you. We've got Gibbs, Matt Guererri, winner of 3 Sportsman features here in 2020. And both of our interviews on this episode kind of expand on that idea of how good it was to have the fans there and something that they experienced and how they felt. And I can't wait for everybody to hear those interviews because they really gave great insight. And it's not just Brad or I giving our thoughts. These are people that are either a staff or a driver at the track, and they really kind of went into depth on how they felt about it and what they were seeing and hearing and feeling at the racetrack. So really excited for everybody to hear those. And Brad, that's what we've got tonight. We have we're going to just quickly talk a little bit about the winners. Let's step aside. We'll do heat race number 1. We'll just talk quickly about the winners, and then we'll get right into heat race number 2 for our highlight of the week. Bob Miller has given us This Week in Land of Legends Raceway History, where we look back on a July 4th event at Land of Legends Raceway. We've got a great history nugget from Bob this week for you. And then we'll get into our A-Main interviews of the week, and we've got some swag to give away. It's this week's Dash for Cash. You're not going to want to miss that at the end of the episode here tonight. Well, Brad, heat race number 1. Normally our heat races are 8 laps in distance. We're going to trim this one down to 2 as heat race 1 going to be a little bit shorter this week because we've got an extra interview for you here on this episode, on episode number 3. So very briefly, heat race number 1, let's talk about the race winners. Larry White gets a win, and this is going back to Saturday, June 27th. Larry White got a win that was his, at the time, 3rd feature win of 2020 at the Land of Legends, a cool $2,000 win. Zach Sabaka out of Paris, just outside of Syracuse, got his 2nd feature win, and actually his 2nd feature win in a row, and that was with the Dirt Car Northeast Sportsman Series. 54 cars showed up for the Dirt Car Northeast Sportsman. Round of applause to the Dirt Car Northeast Sportsman, Dean Reynolds, Corey Reed, everybody behind that effort. Just a fantastic job. And how about this? Only one yellow flag, 2 if you count the B feature, all night long. Heats, consies, features, B feature. To only have a yellow, 2 yellows for the entire night. Bravo to the Dirt Car Northeast Sportsman Series. Also picking up a win back on June 27th was Alicia Bay. She got a win after battling hard with Father Daryl, side by side, lap after lap. Daryl got the lead. Alicia got him back. Daryl got the lead one more time. Alicia took it back again for good. She would end up winning that race, picking up another feature win to her credit at the Land of Legends. So congratulations to Alicia and Josh Pangrazio getting his second street stock feature win of the season. And boy, he had a challenge from Mike Welch and Jimmy Grant to get that on a last lap restart. Jimmy Grant had cut down the lead from just a few seconds down to right to the back bumper of Pangrazio, but Pangrazio picked up the win. His second of 2020. He'll be your point leader. And we go to Thursday, July 2nd, and Larry White with a daring move on Eric Rudolph with just 15 to go. Down to the inside, working lap traffic. Larry White gets another big win in the Pepsi Big Block Modifieds here at the Land of Legends Raceway. And the sportsman, Matt Guererri, Gibbs, one of our A-main interviews here tonight. I keep saying tonight, it's this week's episode. Matt Guererri gets his third win of the season. You'll hear from him later on. And what a race between him and Kevin Root. The sportsmen have been putting on just as good races as the Big Block Modifieds have this season. It's just been spectacular. Let's roll aside here. When we come back, we will get into our heat race number 2, which is Brad's favorite segment. That's the highlight of the week. Stay tuned.
Land of Legends Raceway fans, tune in each and every week of the racing season to Where Legends Are Made, a podcast dedicated to covering the drama, excitement, and hear from the drivers from your favorite dirt track. Stephen Ovens and Brad Ovens walk you through the week that was Where Legends Are Made. Subscribe on Apple or Google Podcasts and visit landoflegendspodcast.com.
Fans of Land of Legends Raceway and the Where Legends Are Made podcast, we've got a great opportunity for you to feature your business. We have opportunities here to sponsor Where Legends Are Made. We have all different features of the podcast. You can pick to be a sponsor of one of our heat races. Maybe you want your business name attached to the top 10 read-offs for the week. Maybe you want your business to be the one that's heard when we play our highlight of the week. Maybe you're a history buff. You want to sponsor Heat 3, where we talk about this week in Land of Legends Raceway history. Maybe you want to be the A-main sponsor. So when we interview our main driver of the week, you want to get your business out in front of that. We've got plenty of opportunities for you to do so, and we can work inside of any budget. And believe me, if you're listening to this and you're saying, oh, I don't think my business has the advertising budget to sponsor a podcast, believe me, we can fit inside of anybody's advertising budget. Get your business a little bit of advertising here on Where Legends Are Made. Contact us right here on the Land of Legends Raceway Facebook page if you're interested, and put your business in front of all of our fans where legends are made.
Now it's time for this week's highlight of the week. Take it away, Brad.
A daring pass in turn number 3 on lap number 19, coming to complete 20 of the Pepsi Big Block Modified feature. This is your highlight of the week.
Rudolph will get by Susie, and now here comes White down to the bottom into turn number 3. They are fighting. Oh, there goes White! White down to the bottom, and he takes the lead. What a move by Lightning Larry White. 20 laps in, 15 to go, and you've got a new race leader. I don't know where White came from to make that move. That was just flat impressive.
Let's roll back the calendar with This Week in Land of Legends History.
It's time for This Week in Land of Legends Raceway History. I want to thank Bob Miller for putting some great stuff together for us, the track historian, in terms of stories, stats, news articles, and he has so much good stuff. And with last weekend being the Independence holiday weekend and racing taking place on Thursday, got to talking to Bob about July 4th history at the Land of Legends Raceway, and we got talking about history in the 1990s, Brad. How about this? In the 90s at the Land of Legends Raceway, out of that decade, Mother Nature claimed 4 events to reign. And then look at this who's who list of who picked up wins on 4th of July events when it wasn't rained out. Alan Johnson won 2. Bob McCready won 2. Steve Payne won 1 feature on the July 4th special. But Brad, can you guess who the guy was in 1994 who won a 4th of July special at the Land of Legends?
Just going completely on a personal guess. Gary Tompkins.
Negative. Was not in the top 5 that night. Here's your top 5. I'll start from 5th. I'll work forward. And there's some pretty good names here and a nice mix of names. Because you think about the Land of Legends back in 1994.
Can I get a second guess?
Go for it.
Well, you know what? Well, no, that was right around that era. I was thinking Joe Plazek, but I'm actually thinking he may not have been a full-timer until 95.
Well, he was in the top 5. So here's your top 5. Now, this is, like I said, a good mix, because if you think back to 94, there was the, Land of Legends on Saturday nights. It was a who's who of the Super Dirt Car Series and the top talent. Here's your top 5, starting from 5th. Johnny Ventura. Good run there for Ventura. Steve Payne was 4th. Sergeant Schultz. Steve Schultz finished 3rd. Brad's pick, Joe Plazek, was 2nd that night. And winning the big block modified feature on the July 4th event, 1994, the gas man himself, driving the water wagon, Johnny Moravec.
Nice.
So how about that for you? Now, you think that's cool. It gets cooler. The Sportsman top 5 that night, and I'll start with the winner and go to the 5th. Darrell Ruggles, the motorized madman, wins the Sportsman that night. Brian Turner was 2nd. Todd Burley was 3rd. Franny Hilton was 4th. Scott McKernan, your top 5. That was in the Sportsman division. No surprise here. Steve Pisaric won the Street Stocks. And Dan Metler won the Pure Stocks. That was all from July 2nd, 1994. So pretty interesting stuff there. I mean, AJ and Bob McCready, right at the top of the all-time feature win list. Payne, who's at the top of the all-time track champions list. And then a guy that Brad and I grew up rooting for, who is not very high on the wins list. But, man, for a couple of kids from Penn Yen, it didn't get no better than Johnny Moravec in the water wagon. So good stuff. Thank you very much to Bob Miller. And hopefully, I know that people that tune in, we're going to have a lot more of these history segments. We hope you enjoy them. We hope you learn something. Maybe if you're a new fan, you get to hear some names from yesteryear, and we hope you enjoyed that. This week in Land of Legends Raceway history.
Land of Legends Raceway fans, tune in each and every week of the racing season to Where Legends Are Made, a podcast dedicated to covering the drama, excitement, and hear from the drivers from your favorite dirt track. Stephen Ovens and Brad Ovens walk you through the week that was Where Legends Are Made. Subscribe on Apple or Google Podcasts and visit landoflegendspodcast.com.
Fans of Land of Legends Raceway and the Where Legends Are Made podcast, we've got a great opportunity for you to feature your business. We have opportunities here to sponsor Where Legends Are Made. We have all different features of the podcast. You can pick to be a sponsor of one of our heat races. Maybe you want your business name attached to the top 10 read-offs for the week. Maybe you want your business to be the one that's heard when we play our highlight of the week. Maybe you're a history buff. You want to sponsor Heat 3, where we talk about this week in Land of Legends Raceway history. Maybe you want to be the main sponsor. So when we interview our main driver of the week, you want to get your business out in front of that. We've got plenty of opportunities for you to do so, and we can work inside of any budget. And believe me, if you're listening to this and you're saying, oh, I don't think my business has the advertising budget to sponsor a podcast, believe me, we can fit inside of anybody's advertising budget. Get your business a little bit of advertising here on Where Legends Are Made. Contact us right here on the Land of Legends Raceway Facebook page if you're interested, and put your business in front of all of our fans where legends are made.
Whether you hug the infield tires or rip the cushion, you found the fastest dirt track podcast in motorsports. Welcome to Where Legends Are Made, the official podcast of Land of Legends Raceway. Here's Stephen and Brad Ovens. By the grace of God and 800 horsepower, it's time for the A-Main interview of the week.
Yes, that's right. It's our A-Main interview of the week. And this week, our A-Main interview is with none other than our head flagger, Scott Hixson, who is I told him earlier when we asked him about doing this interview, which, by the way, thank you to the two fans that sent in requests. This was somebody that we wanted to interview at some point on the podcast, but Scott, the fans wanted to hear from you even sooner. So that's got to be pretty cool for you.
Yeah, especially being part of the A-Main interview, so thank you.
I have to ask, as we get ready to start this interview, I have to ask, where did the nickname the Rooster come from?
Well, it came from an incident on the track at another track that I worked at. A driver was not, he was penalized, and he was not going back to the back of the pack like he was asked to do several times. So I had to go out on the track, stop him, explain to him what happened and why we're putting him to the back. Well, he popped it into gear and he rooster-tailed me. And I told him he could park it for the night. And I gave the reason why over the radio. Somebody must have heard that and gave a little birdie into Shane Andrews' ear, and Shane Andrew kind of came up with that nickname, and it has stuck ever since.
Awesome. Well, I know that was, a question that we couldn't have the Rooster on the podcast and not find out where the name came from. And how is it not a surprise that it was Shane Andrews?
Yeah, Shane's a piece of work, no doubt.
Awesome. So we've been having fun. We've been having fun with these interviews, and the idea is to get drivers, but also to get some of the people that help make the shows happen on Saturday nights or Thursday nights or whatever night it is that we might be running. And you definitely came up with several of our fans. You've definitely got a bit of a following at the track. You've been there for years now. But before we get into some of that, I think I always like going chronologically. And so I'm going to start back. And my first question is, what is your earliest memory of racing? Because I know you, like so many of us, kind of grew up in this sport. But I'm curious what your first racing memory was when you were a kid.
My first racing memory had to be at the old Dundee Speedway, probably when my dad was racing, probably like 1989, somewhere around there. That's my earliest vivid memory of being at the racetrack, and the only reason why I remember that is my grandmother made me little flags to stand in front of the grandstand like you see a lot of the kids do now, and mimic the head starter. And the reason why this is such a vivid memory is because he's a longtime friend, and it's unfortunate that we don't have him here anymore, but Steve Kellogg was the head starter at that point, and I remember that night vividly because he asked me to go up in the flag stand, and I think that was just one of the greatest experiences I had at that point in time.
Those had to be pretty good memories back in those years, because if I remember correctly, Dad wasn't doing too shabby back then in those days, 89, 90.
Yeah, Dad wasn't doing too bad at all back then. I don't remember too much earlier than that, but I think he had a few track championships in '89, and it continued into '90. He got a pretty good sponsor at some point within those 2 years, and he became the Mr. Dirt champion of the Sportsman Series back in '91.
So you talk about, that experience, that first time, when Kellogg invited you up on the stand. Is it that moment, or is there another moment down the road where, you kind of caught the bug for the flag sticks and the flag stand, or is there something completely different that kind of got you thinking, I think this is something I want to do?
Well, I mean, going to the, mimicking the head starter, it had been a little bit before that point in time, just like any other 4 or 5 year old kid, begging the parents to go down and get them a fried dough or a hot chocolate at that point. I think my grandmother was kind of getting sick of that, and she wanted to watch the races. So she did make me these little, felt flags, and, God rest her soul, she told me, I remember this too. She told me when she handed me those flags, she said, "You see that guy up there? I want you to, be right in front of us. Watch him, because you're going to be that guy someday." So I think how my grandmother, told me that just kind of instilled the thing in my brain that, I'm going to be that guy someday, especially after her passing. I just wanted to do that for her. And it's become a great experience ever since I got one of those first flagging gigs.
That's got to be one of those moments that's almost, I know everybody in racing probably has that, and it's different for everybody, but there's that one thing that when you go to the racetrack, there's that one memory or maybe a person or something that happened in the past where every time you roll into the racetrack or for you, when you unfurl the flags and put them into their place at the beginning of the night, that's got to be something that rolls through your mind.
Yeah, no doubt. My fondest memories of any racetrack is Land of Legends Raceway. It is, that's where I grew up. That's where, that's where my dad has the most success. Just more memories out of that track than any other one around. And, now working at that track for years and years now, it's, my grandmother and grandfather always sat up in turn 4, and there's a few times you go up in the grandstand, you just sit where they sat, just reflecting on some of the memories you had, and it's always fulfilling to live out your dreams you had as a little kid, and then fulfilling those dreams that your grandmother and grandfather put into place, and doing that, you can always tell they're smiling down on you at that point in time.
Definitely. What was that phone call like when you got that phone call that, says, "Hey, you're going to be the guy at a track that you grew up at"? What was that phone call like? I had big shoes to fill, no doubt about that. From Jay Drinkwater to David Farney, and others that flagged before my memories, even before that. I was honored. It was kind of like a surprise, but definitely excitement, and I get the excitement every time I'm up in the flag stand, no matter what track it's at. There's a few things that I want to talk about here, and I've got notes down, and I'm kind of deciding what direction we go to first here. I mean, let's go to this past Thursday night, because you're talking about those experiences and how you get excited every time you're there, and a conversation that you and I had after the races on Thursday night was something that I thought would be so cool to mention for the listeners of the podcast here. You experienced something on Thursday that I think only one person, being you, would have had the vantage point to see. And it was when we got the fans involved in firing the engines on Thursday night. You had a great view of the front row cars.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So for anybody that doesn't know, we stopped all the cars on the front chute. We had their cars turned off. And then, you, Stephen, you gave the, gentlemen, start your engines. You had the fans ask that to the drivers. When the engines were turned off, you could just tell it was a different vibe in the facility compared to the first 6 races that we've had so far this year. And if I remember right, it was Matt Guererri and Kevin Ridley on the front row. And when those engines were silent and you were going through your little spiel with the fans, the grin on those 2 drivers' faces was unlike anything I've ever seen before. And before they started those engines, you could see them, they're shaking their head, they're smiling. You could tell that it was just something was different about Thursday than I don't think any other experience I've had at a racetrack. And it was just great to see all those fans back in the stands, and great to see those drivers actually feel the excitement of the fans back in the stands as well.
Absolutely. I mean, even before we got to that point in the features, I think probably just looking behind you and not seeing empty grandstand, that had to be a whole new experience, which we probably take for granted in a normal season.
Yeah, you definitely can feed off the fans in the stands, whether it be, them cheering for their favorite driver, really get that vibe off the grandstands. But I'm going to be totally honest with you. I don't notice it that much at all when we're racing. It was great when we got for hot laps. You get up there, you look around, and you're like, yeah, you're smiling. It's great to have people back. But as soon as those guys stomp on that gas pedal, it's all business, and you kind of tune it out a little bit. Because you're so focused on the task at hand.
Yeah, for sure. We put a little question up here on the Facebook page, asking the fans, and have even got a driver here. And we said, if you could ask our head flagger one question in an interview, what would you ask? And I've got one pretty good question, and I got one that's kind of tongue in cheek here. But the one that I liked is from Jason Doty, who's I don't think he's run with us this year, but he's a former street stock driver that was there with us last year. He said, if you could be a head starter at one race, what track would it be at?
Well, we can't do that anymore. It would have been the New York State Mile. That was my ultimate dream before it all came crumbling down. But I would have to say right now, it would have to be Williams Grove. I'm telling you what, Nick Legret, our Turn 4 flagger, and I took a trip down there this weekend, and oh my God, that was an awesome experience that I had, just sitting in the stands and watching. And I want to be a part of that someday. That was great. So I think at this point in time, it would have to be Williams Grove Speedway.
Awesome. I like it. I saw that you guys headed down there. What was the big takeaway from Williams Grove? What was the thing that impressed you guys the most there?
The speed.
Yeah.
That place is just stupid fast. The tight turns, the great racing that they had, multiple grooves, and just the speed coming down the back chute. I've never seen a sprint car. Now, I'm sure those guys down in Pennsylvania, they see it all the time, but man, us New York State guys, we never see those cars lean to the left going down the front chute like I've seen. It was that was incredible.
The other question that we had come in here was a little bit tongue-in-cheek here, is a question from Antonio.
Okay.
He says, with the cancellation of the Ontario County Fair this year, he's just checking in. He wants to make sure you're going to be okay with no crowing contest this year.
I've been practicing, Antonio, so you don't have to worry. I'm good with the no crowing contest this year, but I'll be ready for next year.
That's good stuff. Appreciate the folks that were chiming in here with the question. I think I might even have, we've got two more that came in here. Let's see. We've got Michael Gleason. We've got Bill Foley. So we've got all sorts of questions that came in. I appreciate that. Is there... Okay. I was trying to read Bill's question, and now I understand it. Bill says, and you may have answered this already earlier, but Bill wants to know, is there ever that, why am I standing here doing this at this moment?
To answer Bill's question, yeah, there's been a few times where you kind of just say, who's the dumbass that stands up on top of cars going underneath you about 120, 140 miles an hour? But it's one of those things that you have a very unique, specific job that there's not a lot of people are able to do. So yeah, every once in a while you're like, why am I doing this? But on the other hand, you kind of take that for granted, and there's not a lot of people that are skilled and trained to do something like that. And, you kind of take pride in it. So,
yeah. Well, I mean, this year, you talk about that. I mean, my goodness, even just on the green flags, now that we have Rooster vision up on the flag stand, we kind of see for a brief second when the camera's on you there for the green flag, we kind of see sometimes what it is you guys deal with right on those green flags. I mean, it's quite a rush of air, dirt, power. I mean, there's a lot of good and maybe a lot of bad there.
All the above. Hopefully it's not. We've never really had a too bad of experience up there, and knock on wood that we don't. But that's my adrenaline rush. It's those green flags. It's it's really not the green flag itself. It's the next lap when they're at full song. Coming off of turn 4, and you get that wind, you get the dirt, you get the real powerful race fumes coming up in your face. It's just that's my drug, and it's every winter you're like jonesing for more, and you just can't wait to get back on the track just to feel that again. And it was a little tough this year because you didn't know if you were going to get that.
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody's kind of been in that, and I think for us at Land of Legends, we I almost think that we've kind of even gotten past that point because we've had some events at the racetrack now.
Yeah.
And at some moments I have to take a step back and remember that until Thursday night, nobody else was coming to get that experience. I mean,
right.
It was albeit a very altered experience for us that was at the track without the fans there. But sometimes I find myself having to take that step back and remember that, man, people were really jacked up on Thursday night because that was the first time. It wasn't 6 events in the season.
Yeah, it was tough to not put posts up, because you didn't want to slap people in the face that weren't able to attend. But, I always take a few pictures and stuff and post them up on my personal Facebook page. And I noticed myself doing that a lot less because, I don't want to be on the other side of the fence and not be able to come to a racetrack and experience that stuff and then being, having people there and seeing it all over the place. That would kind of suck. So
Yeah, definitely. Let's talk quickly here. One of the things that I thought was really neat that we started last year, and I know it might look a little bit different, and who knows, whether we'll maybe that's a question I can ask you. Like last year, the Replace the Rooster program,
Yep.
For years, and this wasn't just a last year thing, like for years, the one thing that I thought Dave Farney always did so well when he was the head flagger, and now you have really taken that torch and run with it, is being so good with our young fans, because I think for you especially, I think you can relate with our younger fans so well, especially with the ones that bring their flags with them to the racetrack. I mean, that was you X number of years ago.
Yeah. Our youth in our sport is the most important. If we don't have that youth and, gravitating towards racing, whether it be dirt track racing, asphalt, any sort of racing, the motorsports industry is going to start to go down. So we need to keep our youth as involved as possible. And I can connect, like you said, to the kid at the grandstand waving the flags, or even if it was just the first time a kid was even at the racetrack, having them come up for, let's say this past Thursday, we had a little girl. It was her birthday. It was her 9-year-old birthday. She's been to the track a couple times, but now she has an experience to take away with that. That's even better than just sitting in the grandstands and watching a race. And now we might have a fan that's hooked for life. And that's very important for our sport and our industry, is to keep that youth involved. And because if we don't, who knows what could happen.
No, absolutely. That's for sure. The other thing that, was one of those moments that I noticed going back through the video from Thursday night was, you talk about, the kids that bring their flags, and man, when you were throwing the white flag for the modifieds, getting ready to get that feature started up, I mean, there's a young man right there in the front row. I mean, and he is, I mean, it was like a mirror image. I mean, what these kids do is just, it's incredible. And to think that, that job at the racetrack that you have is something that, is so impressionable on our young fans. It's just it's really cool to see it in action, and it's cool to see them get to interact with you at the track, whether it's intermission or before the races or whatnot. And man, I just can't help but think that, for what small amount of time that you take aside, and I know others at other racetracks do as well, that short amount of time that you take out of your night is just, is such a big thing for them.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, the youth is a big part of our keeping our industry alive. And again, I can relate to all those kids, or, it's kind of, I know exactly who you're talking about, because I think he was the only one there on Thursday. But to be honest with you, that's my cousin, and he's got better waving skills than I do at this point in time. He's good. And, who knows, eventually one of those kids that are down there, or even somebody that's, a kid that doesn't bring his flags to the racetrack, he could have my job one day up there, after I, call it quits. And that's one of those things that, as long as you're a good mentor to those kids, hopefully that mentoring lasts all the way through their tenure as well.
We got another fan question that came in, and this is an interesting question. I wouldn't have had it on my list, and I like it. Have you ever had to call in sick to flag a race?
No. I don't care if I'm on my deathbed. I'm going to try to figure out somehow to get up there in that flag stand. I wouldn't say that I would never do that, but as of right now, no, I have not. It's just one of those things where I don't care if I got I'm sick on my deathbed, I'm going to try to figure out a way to get up in that flag stand on one of those nights that I have to do my duties.
Awesome, man. Last question here. I can't believe how quick this time has flown by already. Last question. I saw that you checked off Williams Grove. What other tracks have you got on your list, whether it's this year, next year, whenever? What's the next track you'd like to check off on your list?
Well, Nick and I were actually talking about that. Lincoln is one of my tracks I haven't checked off yet. That's part of the PA posse, but definitely Eldora and Knoxville. Those are the two, prestigious tracks still on my list. But I'm hopefully I can get to Lincoln at some point this year. But Eldora and Knoxville is a little bit longer of a drive and kind of a little bit more planning to do with that. So hopefully I can get them checked off soon.
Awesome, man. Well, we appreciate the time here talking to us here on the Where Legends Are Made podcast. It's the A-Main interview of the week, and it came by request, and we're happy to fulfill that request. And we will see you at the racetrack this weekend.
Sounds good, Steven. Thank you.
All right, there's Scott Hixson, our A-Main interview of the week. He was by popular request, and now you've heard from the Rooster. Well, this week's A-Main interview's got a little bonus coverage for you here this week on the Where Legends Are Made podcast. And joining us now here is our sportsman winner from the Speed Connection Sportsman last Thursday evening, getting ready to go for his fourth win of the season, maybe two in a row. Let's see what he can do here Saturday night. Matt Guererri joins us here on Where Legends Are Made. Matt, welcome aboard. And I know we're not the first, but let us add our congratulations to Thursday night.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me on. It was good. We had a good draw through the gate and good draw for the feature, and the rest was history.
What has been I'll just get right to it, man. What has been the difference this season? I know that when you got your first win of the season, we kind of had fun with the fact that, you got to win early on. You don't got to worry about that for the rest of the year. What has been the difference this year? You've ripped off 3 already here at midseason.
I think it was a combination of a bunch of things. I had a 2015 Bicknell the last couple years, and 2 winters ago we put a front clip on it, and it just couldn't get a handle on it. No matter what we threw at it, it just wouldn't handle, and scratched our heads all summer and struggled. We were always a top 5 car, just never good enough to win. This off season I bought a 2019 frame and body off of Maddie Williamson. It was one of the Buzz shoe cars.
Okay.
It had about 9 races on it, so I bolted all my stuff on that car and switched over to the coilover package and different suspension than what I had been running. And we just stumbled on a few things right out of the gate, and it's been good ever since.
So we started on the coils right from the get-go this year.
Yep. First time I put them on, we went to Canandaigua practice, and the first session out, the thing was unbelievable how it drove, and I literally haven't touched the thing on it since then.
Have you had to really alter your driving style with the new suspension?
Not so much. I normally like to drive aggressively anyways. They like to be hard on the throttle and into the corners just to keep the car propped up with the left side panhard and the coils and stuff on it. For me, I feel like I didn't have to change too many things. There was a few things you got to get adjusted to when the track gets slick, but other than that, I know my brother struggles a little bit just because he has a different driving style. He's like a bottom feeder and easy on the gas, which is a little tougher when you switch over. You got to be hard on the gas in the corners. So for some people, it's a different thing to get used to.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's kind of been, at least in the sportsman class, that's not been the storyline, but it's been one of the storylines of seeing guys when they're going to switch over, if they switch over. I think, what is it? I think Kane Bristol's the only guy left now that's been running up toward the top 5, top 10 here to start the season.
Yeah, I mean, when they come out with something, if these crate motors, you need every little edge you can. And I feel like everyone ran on torsion bars and a right side panhard for so many years. It's like you can only get so much out of them. And some track conditions you can still, obviously you're still just as good with a right side panhard and torsion bars. There's other situations where the coilovers and left side panhard will help, which obviously it goes to show with Kane. Kane's been fast pretty much all year running up front. So I guess it's just the type of driving style, and if you can find the right setup and get it to work on any track condition, you'll be good.
It seems like in the races that you've taken the checkered flag this year, they've not been easy by any means. I mean, yeah, Thursday night, somebody might look at the starting lineup and the finish and say, well, he had a great car and he started up front, but that wasn't necessarily the case, because you and Kevin put on a hell of a battle.
I know. Thursday, he got up, I think he was second on lap 2 or 3, whatever it was. We had a caution. I happened to look at the board, and I'm like, man, he's already second. So I knew I had my hands full already right off the gate with him. So just to be able to hold him off for the rest of the race, I felt like was a huge accomplishment for me. I mean, last time we restarted on the front row together, he got me on a restart, and he just fired better than I did. So obviously that's always in the back of your head. But it makes you feel good. I mean, he's the one to beat in our class over the last couple of years. Last year, he won every race under the sun. So just to be able to run up front with him and be competitive with him and be able to beat him a couple nights, it makes you feel good.
Definitely. I know that early on in either the first or second, when you had talked about, and everybody knows that, you and Matt have such a great relationship as friends, and you talked about how much he's helped your program in the off season. How tough has it been now that he's at a different racetrack on Saturdays? Is it just as easy, or does that make it a little harder to bounce some ideas off of on race night?
When the year started out, it kind of made me nervous before we got to the first week, just not knowing. I used to get out of my car after a heat race, and I could go over and talk to him in the trailer with him and Randy Kazaki, and they could explain things to me, and we could get him and haw about it. Then it kind of worried me that I wasn't going to have that luxury, but luckily we were faster out of the gate the first week, and I haven't really needed to change too much. So I still have called them a few times on the phone, while they're down at Middletown, and they give me some pointers over the phone, but it's been a lot easier than I thought it would be.
Well, it's definitely, you've definitely had a hell of a start to the season. At this point, and it's kind of crazy, we're coming into, we're what a normal season would look like. We're already past halfway. You've had a great start. I know Thursday was just show up points, but you're right in the thick of it. And, we race this week, Mother Nature holding out for us, hopefully. And then next week we come into double points. And then before you know it, we're into August. What is your mindset here coming into these last 6-7 races, knowing that, you guys are right there. You're one of the players right now.
It's kind of bizarre. We've had 7 races. I've had 3 wins, a second, a third, a fourth, and an eighth. And I still sit at 4th in points just because we've only had the 1 point race and the rest were show ups. So it's in one breath, it's kind of nice because you can go, and obviously we've had 6 races that were draw or time trials, which benefits me. You don't get handicapped so far back. So, that's what a lot of drivers like. In the same token, it kind of narrows down the point races that we have. And it's like, if those were point races, I would be, I'd be better off in the points right now. But the way I look at it is I struggled a lot last year with getting a handle on my car and a bunch of things. And it was a frustrating year. And this year to come out of the gate and have, 7 good runs already and 3 wins, it's more than I thought I would accomplish this year. So, I would just go into the rest of the races, just go out and try to win every race. And if we end up on top, then we do. And if not, then, I'd still be happy with the year we had.
Is this season 2020, with the success you've had so far, and we've still got a good amount of races left, is it already a win for you this year?
It definitely is. Like I said, a couple years ago, I had 3 wins in a year, but the rest of the year it wasn't really consistent enough. And I feel like this year my car is good enough to be consistent enough. And I feel like, I've had a car that could win the race in every race we've been in, which I haven't felt like that before any other year this far into it. So I would definitely consider it a win so far this year.
Has that taken some pressure off of you? I imagine last year, had to be frustrating, and now coming in with some updated equipment might have put some pressure on your shoulders. Do you feel like that's been lifted?
Yeah, big time. Like I said, last year, when you get frustrated and you start, you're running fifth and sixth, and it's like, man, am I ever going to figure it out? Where, am I ever going to win a race again? Like, you don't really know what to do, and you get frustrated, and it's a long summer. So it was kind of nerve-wracking going into this year with a new car and a different, a bunch of updated parts and suspensions. Like, I didn't even know what to expect, but I couldn't have been happier with the way it started so far.
Absolutely, man. It's been a great start for you guys. I know that, you've got a lot of folks that are helping out the effort and have been a part of that. I do want to ask you, though, your comment made the highlight reel that came out this morning. We're recording this on Thursday, talking about the fans being back and how huge that was. What did that mean to get a win with the first time the fans being back?
It was awesome. I mean, like I said in the interview, the first 6 races, it's just not the same. You roll out and no one's in the stands. It's kind of an eerie feeling. Like, it's just something you're not accustomed to. And Thursday to see all the fans back out and hooting and hollering and getting into it with, yourself up there announcing in the booth. It was pretty neat to see everybody back. And it's, I guess there's some things you take for granted when you get busy with life and racing and you don't really get, just think about, the little things you take for granted, being able to go to the racetrack and, racing in front of a bunch of people in the stands. You don't really think about that.
Yeah.
So,
well, man, it's been such a good run for you here of late and to start the season. We wanted a chance, we told Scott Hixson and the same was for you. We've had multiple requests for you and both the Rooster to be on the podcast. So we're happy to get you both here on the same episode. And, but before I get you out of here, thank you for your time. And I want to give you an opportunity to thank all the people that have been a part of the success here to start the season.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously my wife, Hannah, she puts up with a lot of crap during the summer. It's not easy. You live a busy life in the shop all the time and working, and your Saturdays are tied up. So the weddings and the parties and all that are gone. Of course, all my sponsors, Tradition Automotive, Mohawk Northeast, Product 9, Waterloo Container, Champion Power Equipment, Supergen, BA Exhaust, Mojo's Tavern in Waterloo, Sunset Bowl in Geneva, Trout's Auto Recycling, Regional Heating and Cooling. My brother, he works hard at the racetrack, John Cordovani. He's another crew guy of ours. They work their butts off on Saturday. They never get the recognition, that the drivers do. My dad, my mom, a lot of people support us at the track and off the track. So it takes a lot of good people.
Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask this question before we get out of here. We were talking to Scott Hixson about his nickname. Where did Gibbs come from?
Honestly, it's not even that good of a story. We used to play with a little Matchbox dirt diecast cars when we were younger. With my brother and I, Anthony, we'd always fight over who we were going to pick, and I always picked a Mitch Gibbs car for whatever reason. I don't even know why. They'd take it, and I'd throw a fit until my parents made them give it back to me, and they started calling me Gibbs, and I used to hate it, and the more I hated it, the more they called it, and it's stuck ever since.
Well, I'll tell you what, man, that was not the story that I was expecting.
No.
But I'm glad I asked that question because, you've had so many good runs and, the nickname comes up often as much as you've been running up front. And a couple of fans that requested you, actually requested, they wanted to know where the name came from. Well, now they know if they listen here to the podcast, man. That's great stuff.
Yeah, a lot of people always ask me, and that's always their response too. It's not really what they were expecting.
Awesome, man. Well, congratulations on the early success here, and we wish you well. Hope you keep it rolling here throughout the season, and we'll see if you can get another one here Saturday night.
I hope so. I appreciate you guys having me on, and I appreciate all your guys' hard work with the broadcast and everything you guys do for the racetrack. It's appreciated.
Awesome, man. Well, we appreciate the show that you guys put on. You really make our jobs real easy. I can tell you that. Great job so far.
Thank you, Steve.
All right, there's Matt Guererri. Gibbs joining us here on Where Legends Are Made in our A-Main interview bonus coverage here for episode number 3.
Land of Legends fans, want to win some swag? Listen up for this week's Dash for Cash.
That's right. It's this week's Dash for Cash, your opportunity to win some merchandise, some swag here from the Land of Legends Raceway. And we got to send a shout out to Paul Cole, promoter from Land of Legends Raceway, for tossing in a Land of Legends Raceway hat. So if you win the Dash for Cash this week, you'll be able to pick up that hat right from the beer stand where we have the hats, or if you're not going to be at the races in the near future, we'll get your information and we'll get it out to you for sure. That's part 1. We got a second part for our Dash for Cash this week. Chris Doherty from Wicked Tees, father of Jeffrey Doherty, one of our Pepsi Big Block Modified drivers. They have not been able to get to the racetrack yet, but I'm sure we'll see them before the season's out. He drives the Williams Construction and Spray Foam number 22. But Chris Doherty, his new business, Wicked Tees, has tossed in a T-shirt for this week's Dash for Cash. So in order to be entered for the drawing for this week's Dash for Cash, we need you to put the feature winner from the Big Block Modifieds in a comment on the Facebook video for this week's podcast. We talked about the race winner, and you'll have to listen to This Week in Land of Legends Raceway History. We want the modified winner from July 2nd, 1994. Comment with that driver's name on the Facebook video post, and you'll be entered for this week's Dash for Cash drawing, and we will announce our winners on Facebook and on Twitter. So that's all you got to do to enter this week's Dash for Cash, and congratulations to our previous winners. We've already given away different things this season. Land of Legends TV subscriptions. We gave away a front wing to Kelly Hebing's number 10C Sprint car, and now we've got a hat and a Wicked Tees t-shirt. So comment away with the Big Block Modified winner from July 2nd, 1994. And Brad, as we get ready to close out this week's episode of Where Legends Are Made, we'll preview this week's show. And like we said at the beginning of the program, not sure what Mother Nature is going to give us to work with this week, but this week scheduled is Pepsi night, and they're going to bring the Mug Bug with them. So they're going to bring that Beetle Bug car with the Mug Root Beer graphic scheme on the outside of it. Be sure to stop by and see those our friends from Pepsi. They are the official soft drink of the Land of Legends Raceway, the sponsor of our premier division, the Pepsi Big Block Modifieds. Be sure to stop over and say hello to them and let them know how much you appreciate their involvement with the racetrack in Canandaigua. You can get pictures, take a selfie with the Mug Bug, and be sure to tag us.
Absolutely. You got to go check out that Mug Bug. I've taken a couple laps in the back seat of that Mug Bug around Land of Legends, and let me tell you what, there was one time, I can't remember, it was definitely last year, one of the shows, we headed for turn 3 to hit the pit area, and I don't know if the driver wasn't aware of the big lip that there is in turn 3, but I wasn't sure if the brakes weren't working or if he just wasn't aware, but we were sailing it in. It looked like it felt like a sprint car coming into the pit area without the brakes, but
full send, huh?
Oh boy, let me tell you what. He learned real quick what that lip was like, and we didn't jump that lip like that anymore. But that little Mug Bug. And if you get there, go up to the folks here with Pepsi and ask them the backstory of the Mug Bug. That the backstory of how the Pepsi the Pepsi folks locally here obtained that mug bug. There is such a cool story behind that mug bug. Go up there, talk to the Pepsi folks, thank them for being here, for supporting the sport that we love, and ask about that backstory, because it's just phenomenal.
Also, looking ahead to next weekend, July 18th, the first stop of 2020 for the Capital Region Sprint Association, CRSA, the 305 Sprint Tour, sanctioned by Mike Emhoff from Mike Emhoff Motorsports, the sponsor of our 305 Sprint division. It will be their opening event for the 2020 CRSA 305 Sprint Tour season. And of course, there's so many tracks that haven't been able to open to fans. We're not just exactly sure what the CRSA 2020 schedule is going to look like. I know they've lost a few races on their schedule already, but we are happy to host them for their opening round of the 2020 campaign for CRSA. They'll be with us on July 18th. You won't want to miss that. $15 general admission at the Land of Legends Raceway each and every Saturday night. And if you can't be with us at the racetrack, be sure to tune in with us on Land of Legends TV. Go to landoflegendstv.com and purchase your one-night subscription for the low price of $14.95, and you will see all 5 camera angles, pit interviews, victory lane interviews, down inside Casbah Victory Lane. We've got the new drone shot. I mean, it's just been phenomenal on Land of Legends TV, and we thank everybody that's joined us so far this season. Brad, any other parting words as we head out here for episode number 3?
Just if you've got that racing itch, you want to get out to the racetrack, come join us at the Land of Legends. The atmosphere was absolutely phenomenal. Everybody was doing their part. Bring a mask, do your part while you're standing in line for the concession foods. I personally got to have my first dirt dog of the year last Thursday. And I'll tell you what, it's just, like I said at the beginning of the show, I hate to say it, but I think I took the fans for granted, having them and just being used to everybody being there and having that first week since everybody was back. It was just just goosebumps all over. Just incredible. The atmosphere and the enjoyment and the crowd participation. Come out and join us, because it's only going to get better from here.
Yeah, that's right. Don't forget, we are following CDC guidelines with social distancing. Bring a mask with you. Every race that we run, the whole world is watching, and they're just waiting to watch to be able to snap that photo to say, gotcha, and just waiting for something or some process to break down. So bring your mask, follow the guidelines so that we can stay open the way we are. And we will see you at the track where #Legends are made.
Land of Legends Raceway fans, tune in each and every week of the racing season to Where Legends Are Made, a podcast dedicated to covering the drama, excitement, and hear from the drivers from your favorite dirt track. Stephen Ovens and Brad Ovens walk you through the week that was Where Legends Are Made. Subscribe on Apple or Google Podcasts and visit landoflegendspodcast.com.